Welcome in and welcome back. We're here to review The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 5, Chapter 13, or The Jedi, however it is that you would like to refer to this. And I think there is one obvious place to start this video. Grogu. How do you feel about it? I'm not sure. Baby Yoda is definitely a cuter way to refer to the child. Lots of names. Lots of different ways to refer to things. Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, Mando. Baby Yoda. Grogu. Season 2, Episode 5, The Jedi. Chapter 13. Lots of alternative ways to talk about things. I've got a lot of talking points from this one, so let's get into things. Grogu, how do you feel about it? I don't know how I feel about it. From what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, the only two members of Yoda's species that we have met before the child were Yoda and Yaddle. I was expecting, if we ever learned the child's name, if the child had a name, and was not to get a name instead, I figured it would begin with a Y. Am I the only one? Am I ignorant for that? Is that something that is uniquely ignorant to my domain? I am not sure. I very highly doubt. I very, 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 very highly doubt it is a coincidence that we are learning Baby Yoda's name on Black Friday. It is interesting that last year Disney held out. They could have made a lot of money on Baby Yoda last year. But in order to maintain that surprise for the fans and build that lore around the series, they did not risk Baby Yoda leaking by having Baby Yoda merchandise pass through toy manufacturers, baby doll manufacturers, stuffed animal manufacturers, nightie manufacturers, all of these things on which Baby Yoda, Grogu, could appear. They didn't risk it. They kept the secret, a lot of discipline, and sacrificed a lot of dollars. Because last year, the only place that you were finding anything Grogu, Baby Yoda at the time, was Amazon through people who had sewn or knitted these things up themselves. So it is interesting, to say the least, it is interesting that we are learning that his name is Grogu on Black Friday. I assume it will be searchable on Amazon by the day's end, and I imagine we will know how it's spelled. I don't know how it's spelled. Grogu is how I have it in my notes. Moving on from that, because this was a really good episode as far as I'm concerned. I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the Bo-Katan episode was my favorite episode of the series so far. Now that has been replaced. This was a really great episode, mainly for scientific reasons, but make good guys scary again, I think is a new slogan we should have, pardon me, on a hat. What happens when good guys are scary? One of the things that happens when good guys are scary is that we respect them more. This is not Captain America being the good guy and wholesome. This is Wolverine, where you know if you fuck up, you're getting cut in half, right? So this scene with Ahsoka Tano at the beginning, she's terrifying. She is hunting these soldiers like she is a wild animal almost. Or not even a wild animal, because wild animals don't know right from wrong. They're just existing to exist. She is doing this in cold and calculated fashion. She is, in that way, a monster. Like from a horror film, a monster. You are scared for these soldiers, especially without the context of Ahsoka Tano, I think. I imagine, because the way that this episode began, we didn't know, I didn't know, maybe someone did, I'm sure that these tube soldiers, elephant soldiers, exist elsewhere in Star Wars mythology. It's not something to which I am privy. So watching them walk around, especially as they're responding to a gong going off in a walled city, I'm assuming at that point, we're the good guys there. That the elephant soldiers are the good guys. That they are the defense for this small town, going off and trying to ward off whatever beast it is that lives in the wilderness. So when that beast turns out to be a Jedi, we are forced to reconcile what we've seen already with what we know about the Jedi. So Ahsoka Tano, in those moments, is terrifying. And make good guys scary again, because we have to respect them. Because what we do with a good guy who is scary, while respecting them, is when that good guy is going to save someone. So these villagers that we sort of have to bit and piece together, which is good storytelling. One of the best pieces of advice about writing that I've ever heard was from my instructor at community college, Mike Warren, who I think he credited someone else with this, but I don't remember who it was, so I credit Mike Warren. Good writing teaches us how to read it. Good stories teach us how to read them. Once we see these soldiers leaving town, being hunted by a Jedi, we know Jedis are good guys normally, or otherwise they're Sith, right? I don't know how this works. I'm just assuming. Okay, I might be wrong. I just went all Trump. Okay, I might be wrong. Don't sue me. I don't know Star Wars. So once we see the Jedi, which we assume is a good guy, good woman in this instance, hunting these soldiers, we know the soldiers are bad guys. Knowing that the soldiers are bad guys, we have to reconstruct what we saw in the town. All of the civilians that ran into their house, are they being occupied? They were seemingly good people. So we have to assume they're being occupied. So we understand at that moment, Ahsoka Tano is coming to help the villagers. Once we know that Ahsoka Tano is coming to help the villagers, and it's these bad guys that stand in between them, when Ahsoka Tano becomes terrifying, what we feel is righteous vengeance. It's a different kind of feeling than the people in distress being rescued. They're not being rescued, they're being vindicated. Vindication is a much different feeling of a word than rescue. You get rescued when you strand yourself in the woods. You get vindicated by one means, and that's violence. So it's a different type of feeling, it's a different type of storytelling, it's a different type of emotional palette immediately. We have the righteous indignation, we have the righteous vengeance. We feel that same righteous vengeance in the first season after, I think it was The Sin. The episode was called The Sin, when the Mandalorian drops off Baby Yoda and then goes to rescue Baby Yoda. We understand that those are bad guys he's saving them from. So when we have a violent good guy going to rescue, going to vindicate the fallen Grogu at that point, it feels very vengeance. It feels righteous wrath, a righteous wrath. It's Old Testament, right? So after this, two things I have to say about very early in the episode. Number one, I know I felt some consternation in the prequel trilogy, about how fancy they tried to make lightsabers all of a sudden. Well, there's this color, and there's that color, and there's this color, and there's that color, and sometimes they're dual sabers, and sometimes they've got a curved handle. All of these different things. So I've never really been big on... I've never hated it. Like, I liked the bad guy from the new trilogy that is trying to be Darth Vader. I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. I liked the fact that it had the 3 blades. I can't remember the hilt. I liked that, but I'm not really into all the different variations of lightsaber. That said, the white lightsabers were gorgeous. I have seen still shots of Ahsoka Tano from the cartoon. They look okay in a cartoon. They are stunning in live action. And then you've got Mando when he lands and he says, well, we're going to see what's going on in this town. I swear to God, that first droid that they pass, I swear to God, that droid said, fuck you. I rewound it 4 times, and I swear that thing said, fuck you. It's like he didn't land on a random planet. He landed in New York. It was weird to see. The way that it progressed that way, and you're forced to... Rosario Dawson is so scientific. I mean, the science behind Rosario Dawson is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Just premier science there. That has been... The science there, that is theory. That is not hypothesis. That is theory. Scientific theory. Top of the line. Science. I mean, just so scientific. Just so scientific. Ahsoka Tano tells us that Grogu has had many masters. This episode, exquisite storytelling, great direction, Dave Filoni, by the way, great direction. We get to meet a character in live action for the first time. There's a lot of things to be excited about in this episode, but one thing that I think is impossible to overlook with this episode is how many questions it forces. How many questions it forces. And with these masters, who were they? Will we meet any of them? Also, Ahsoka says there are not many Jedi left. How many are there? Where are they? Will we meet them? Are any of them at the Jedi Temple? Grogu was hidden away. Who was it that hid Grogu? The memories go dark. What was it that made them dark? This was, after all, before those memories that would have been forged after the Mandalorian turned him in. So all the torture that he went through as they were extracting his M counts, this was all of the... I can't say all, so presumably some of them. Some of those bad memories were during then, but that's a long period that she seemed to have been talking about. So it seems like there was a lot going on there. We also saw, for the first time I don't know if this is the first time in Star Wars lore, a laser shotgun. How cool is a laser shotgun? That is as cool in live action as were the white sabers. I've got no smooth transition for this, but the next note that I have is Mando was nervous during the meeting with Ahsoka Tano. That was, of all of the people who... So I showed my little sister. Today was Thanksgiving. I showed my little sister The Mandalorian on Disney Plus for the first time today, and she seemed to be in pain at how cute Baby Yoda was. Almost couldn't watch episodes because of how cute Baby Yoda was. I assume that is a pretty common experience for people watching The Mandalorian. But the cutest thing to me thus far was watching Din Djarin pace back and forth as Ahsoka Tano was having the conversation with Baby Yoda. You get the feeling right there in those moments that what Mando is feeling is something close to the way a parent feels the first time their child comes home from the 6th grade and you can't help that kid with their math homework anymore, right? It seems that is the sort of angst coursing through Mando at that moment. He does not know. He knows he is not the best for that child. He cannot help that child reach its full potential. And he's worried possibly that the teacher Ahsoka Tano is going to turn him into the state because of how terrible a parent he has been. It is a strange scene watching the Mandalorian be nervous. Not scared, not anxious, nervous at that moment. Seeing him sort of, it's amazing how much acting goes on in this show with a helmet on. But you get that feeling from the character in that moment that he knows he can't help the child. He also doesn't want to say goodbye to it. So it was, on all accounts, there were a lot of things going through the Mandalorian at that moment, which leads me to the fact that it was during this episode that I realized, during that scene, how brilliant it was to reintroduce and rebrand Star Wars after losing such a faction, a huge fraction, which is the biggest faction of Star Wars fandom, to the new series, to the new trilogy. Even casuals like myself, that new series, I didn't want anything. Okay, these are space movies. Don't want them. Done with it. How brilliant it is to reintroduce Star Wars, to rebrand Star Wars through a legacy brand like the Mandalorians, who are bounty hunters. Because what you get to do is you get to send your viewers place to 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 place. And sure, it feels a little formulaic, but we don't really get to question it because we're with a bounty hunter. That's what bounty hunters do. So to see the Mandalorian on screen, what we're doing being reintroduced, is we are accepting. We are automatically forced to accept. We're going to meet a lot of different characters. We're going to go to a lot of different planets. We're going to see a lot of different vehicles. We're probably going to get thrown in some legacy characters, Ahsoka Tano. I think there's going to be more. So we get all of these things thrown at us, and we have to accept it because we're with a bounty hunter. And we're reintroducing Star Wars through a bounty hunter, through a Mandalorian, as opposed to a Jedi. Because Jedi have been kind of ruined. So by reintroducing it with a character that is cool, we get to reintroduce Jedis with a character that we like. So if our main character likes the Jedi, by proxy, we kind of like them. So brilliant stroke of genius from Favreau, from Filoni, from all these people to do this with a bounty hunter. Talking about legacy characters, Ahsoka Tano has sent them to the Jedi Temple. It makes me wonder if we're going to see Luke Skywalker. Possibly there are all sorts of Jedi wandering around at this point. Ahsoka Tano says there aren't many left. Aren't many is a perfectly ambiguous number. But the only Jedi that we saw recently, I think was have we ever seen the Jedi Temple before? I know we saw it in the new Disney series. And in the new Disney series, the only people we see there are Yoda, or are Luke and Ghost Yoda. So it makes me wonder if this is going to be only the second time we've ever seen the Jedi Temple. Are we going to have it introduced to us in some other way than the way we just saw it? The new movies, the new trilogy happens sometime after The Mandalorian. So might it still be inhabited by other people? Regardless of if it is inhabited by other people, mightn't any number of Force ghosts manifest at the Jedi Temple? It seems to me it would be a perfectly logical thing for a Force ghost to manifest at the Jedi Temple. After all, it's the temple, right? So it makes me wonder who we're going to see there, what we're going to get there. And I think, where are we at here? 11. I think there's going to be, I've got a couple more talking points before we really get around to this, but I think it's going to be something big. The next talking point I have is Grogu has Anakin-like potential. Anakin, of course, becoming Darth Vader. Ahsoka Tano says to Mando, I can't take this kid and train him because he looks to you as like a father. And that is too much emotion. I think that this is a reference to the fact that it was the slaying of Anakin's mother that really made him flip shit. And at that point, Natalie Portman dying was what really flipped him into being all-out Darth Vader, who gave no damns about anyone, and yeah, he'd kill you. So I think that connection, remember, last week we lost the car seat, and there is an emphasis put on Baby Yoda crawling up into that seat like an adult in this episode. The time to be a child is gone. The time to be a baby is gone. We see a lot of Baby Yoda walking in this episode. We see a lot of Baby Yoda conversing in this episode. We see Baby Yoda without the car seat in this episode. We get Baby Yoda being chastised for wanting his toy, the little ball, right? When I became a man, I put away childish things. So we have all of that going on. And we have Ahsoka Tano refusing to take the child because he looked to Mando as a father figure. Because the child knows love, he will also have fear and no hatred when the time is right. That is too much. Although we get a lot of angry looks from Ahsoka in this episode. She does not look dispassionate. Very scientific. Now, a talking point that is uncomfortable. There's an awful lot of Far East influence, it seems, in this episode. We don't see a whole lot of Asian folks in the Star Wars, in any of the Star Wars movies that I've seen. But also, we haven't seen a whole lot thus far in this series. I'm not bringing up identity politics. I'm just throwing it out there. We haven't seen it. In this episode, not only do we get, I believe that woman that had the Beskar spear, I believe she may have been Asian. We get the Asian family. But we also have Asian, Japanese, Chinese type architecture in the village. It is a walled city. They ring the gong when there is danger. When Mando meets... When was that? When Mando kills the lead bad guy, he bows to the Asian father. I don't think that was an accident. I don't think I've ever seen him bow before. And that guy bows back. Strange little moment. We have a tranquility garden. We also have authoritarianism. This makes me wonder if this is going to even be allowed to play in China, because China China says yes or no to what any of their citizens see. It is, in that way, very authoritarian, isn't it? So I have to wonder how deep the commentary on this was intended to go. It does stick out amongst themes in The Mandalorian thus far. I have not seen, I do not remember seeing anything as seemingly, maybe I'm way off the mark, but I don't remember seeing anything as seemingly political as is this episode. There's a whole lot of Chinese and Japanese influence going on here. And when we see this authoritarianism pop up, I think that we have to ask if that is intentional. It seems undoubtedly intentional. It seems, in that way, fairly uncharacteristic for Disney. I like that. I like that maybe we're getting some social commentary, not identity politic commentary, but social commentary here from the series. Even if it is something, look, if you were to raise this point in artistic fashion, it would be simple for Jon Favreau, for Dave Filoni, for Bob Chapek, for Bob Iger to laugh it off. Oh, you're reading too much into that. Look, we have influences from all over the world in the Star Wars universe. We happen to, everywhere we see a prominent culture. Some of these planets predominantly white. Some of these planets Dothraki, whatever it is, wherever it is that we are. Of course, there's going to be prominent numbers of someone. On the what was it, the shrimp episode where they were shrimp farmers, basically. They were farming for those bright blue shrimp where we first meet Gina Carano. Most of those villagers, I believe, were light brown people. I don't know where from. I don't know, but I'm just saying there seems to be a constant that there is a dominant. There seems to be a main race on any planet we go to. It would be very easy for anyone involved to just, oh, you're reading too much into that. We just happen to throw some things into this episode. And we're not making any commentary on authoritarianism. It just happens to be the way things sprung up in this episode. So I think that was interesting to see, to follow along with, and to take note as it progressed. So, where are we going from here? What is going to happen henceforth? Last season, I believe we got a 2-part finale, right? I think it was 2 parts. I think this season we're going to get a 3-part finale. I think the last 3 episodes of this season are going to be at the Jedi Temple, and I think Gideon's going to show up, Moff Gideon. I think Bo-Katan's going to show up. I think maybe Luke Skywalker's going to show up. Maybe some other Jedi that we know is going to show up. We do know that Mark Hamill has been on set for The Mandalorian because he voiced one of the droids in the first season. So we have all of these people. I think the armorer is going to show up. I think that this is going to be a 3-episode battle on whatever planet houses the Jedi Temple. I think we're going to have, I think Ahsoka Tano's done. I don't think we're going to see Ahsoka Tano again in this series. But I think we're going to get more Jedi. Does anyone know who directs the next episode? I have no idea. I do know that there is one mystery episode for whom we don't know who is the director. I'm not saying that right. We don't know who the director is for one episode, which means that either someone doubles up or we get Jon Favreau. So it will be interesting to see who is the director for the next episode, because it could be the first of a 3-part finale where, again, we're going to see a battle royale which might unite the Mandalorians. We've got the Bo-Katan tribe and the Armorers tribe, which seem to be at ends. But the minute old Bo-Katan gets that Darksaber, well, then Mandalore has a new ruler, don't they? We are going to get undoubtedly Moff Gideon at some point in the next 3 episodes. Why not next episode? He will be battling for Grogu. So we could have an all-out war for 3 episodes, and that would be very interesting. That would be even if it's 30 minutes an episode. Imagine, which would be short for this season. We've had longer episodes this season. If there are 30-minute episodes, a 3-part finale, we would have an hour-and-a-half battle, which is an entire movie length of a battle, which has always confused me about Star Wars, that there are now 9 movies, very little wars. A lot of stuff going on, not a whole lot of wartime. So it could be an hour-and-a-half of straight battle, which would be, I gotta throw it out there, absolutely astounding. Oh, right. No, I know what that is. Couldn't read my own handwriting for a moment. Which, that leads me to my next question. We know Bob Chapek is throwing an investor day for Disney. We know Disney has completely reorganized so that the streaming service can be the forefront of what's going on. And we understand that there are going to be, at this investor day, new series announced. What will these series be? I think I've heard the name Thrawn before. I don't know anything about this character, but I understand that he is a big deal. Are we going to get an Ahsoka Tano versus Thrawn series? I would be up for that in very scientific ways. Are we going to get another Mando series? And we're going to get, it was announced that there would be a 3rd season. So there's 2. I think those are fairly obvious. It was announced that there's going to be a Boba Fett series, a mini-series, I think it was called. So I don't know, was it going to be like 4 episodes or something? Oh, Boba Fett might show up in that final battle as well. So, but what we've got, Ahsoka Tano versus Thrawn, pretty obvious. Mando series, or Mando season 3 already announced. Boba Fett series already announced. Obi-Wan series already announced. I think they're through filming. There's 4. Seem to be right there and obvious. I think we could also very easily get a Bo-Katan series. I think that is fairly obvious. I don't think that there is any reason to introduce her and introduce the fact that she is after the Darksaber without saying, yeah, we're probably going to give you a show of your own. I think that we could see names that I've heard, and I don't know who these people are. Sabine Wren and Ezra. I think that could be a series because I see those names thrown around together very often. I also wonder if we're going to get a series for the Armorer, for the Mandalorian's tribe. Because I think what could happen, old Bo-Katan gets that Darksaber. The Armorer is now beholden to Mandalore and to the Mandalorian tribes. They're going to go get, in the Bo-Katan series, they're going to reclaim Mandalore. In the Armorers series, Bo-Katan says you can live on Mandalore, but not everyone is going to share your ways. You are part of a religious cult. You can have your cult. You can have your cult on Mandalore. But not everyone has to live your way. It could be the Armorers series could be about maintaining the bounty hunter tradition through their specific cult. So then we have Bo-Katan running Mandalore. That could be a series. Reclaiming the entire planet. That could be what's going on there. I don't know what's going on with Mandalore, so maybe I'm completely off base. The Mandalorian series, which is Grogu traveling around with Mando, picking up different lessons. And then we have the Armorer, who is bounty hunting. I think these could all be new series. The final talking point I have, I watch a few reviews after I do my reviews on The Mandalorian. There was a lot of consternation surrounding the fact that they think The Mandalorian is going to spend time trying to justify the Disney sequel trilogy as opposed to retconning it, as opposed to doing away with it. But even as a non-Star Wars fan, I have to recognize this is the way. This is the way Star Wars has always done things. Star Wars introduced Boba Fett and his gun through a Christmas special that was universally panned. And then they put him in the movies and made him cool again. The prequel trilogy debuted and was panned. Everyone hated it. Everyone hated it. I saw those movies in theaters. I know. I am not a Star Wars fan. All the Star Wars guys that I knew hated it. Everything about Star Wars seemed to be undone. It's the Force. It has nothing to do with your M count. All these sorts of things. And then they made a video game about pod racing. It was pretty cool. People liked it. And Darth Maul really was kind of cool, but he died so simple. But they brought him back in a cartoon. And then all of these things, it seems like the Star Wars tradition is to make something that sucks and then go back and make it cool. That seems to be in Star Wars, not lore, but tradition. That seems to be the way. So it does not strike me as strange. Look, I wanted them to be done. I wanted them to phase out the sequel trilogy as well. I wanted them to get rid of it because it was just so bad. I don't think they're going to. They seem to be doubling down on it with the Snoke theme, with the Snoke floating in the blue goo or whatever from the previous episode. But would you have it any other way? All sorts of things in Star Wars, it seems. I remember there's all sorts of books about Star Wars. There's an entire canon and non-canon of books. And any time when I was a kid, and all the Star Wars guys tried to show me something, that's stupid. Well, you don't understand, because in this bounty hunter book that I have, it says that Bosk looks the way he does because it was something retrofitted. It was something gone back and reworked. There are all sorts. I believe we don't really see the IG-88's the one from the original trilogy, I believe. I maybe I'm wrong. IG-11's in the new one, I think. We don't really see IG-88 move in the original trilogy. But in the bounty hunter books, apparently, that's where the magic is at for the IG unit. And I remember thinking, he looks so stupid. And my friend said, yeah, but his head spins and his arms got the things and his legs, you can tractor around. So there's all sorts of stuff going on there that I think will be able to be made cool again by the Favreau and Filoni tandem, if you will. And it makes me wonder if that is where we're going with this, and if they can pull off making that sequel trilogy look better in retrospect. And if they can, by God, Bob Chapek, give them any property they want. Let them do anything that they see fit, because they must be brilliant if they can do that. That is all that I have for this episode. Thank you for lasting this long, if you have, for being around, for coming to watch my humble review. Thumbs up really helped me out. Subscribe if you have not already. Check me out over at Strip Cover Lit, and I hope to see you next week for the next to last episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian.